Hello, art friends. Today we're going to learn about a drawing technique that's called contour line drawing. Here's an example of a contour line drawing that I've done in my sketchbook. For the subject matter, I used little plastic animals, but you can use anything. It's popular to use hands for this drawing strategy, this drawing technique, this practice to help artists use this to help them practice seeing, which is the most important part of learning to draw is learning really to see. Here's another example. This I had done years ago and had hanging in the art classroom, and you can see the subject matter of this line drawing are faces. And you'll see that this type of drawing has a kind of quirky look. It's got a different kind of look, which you'll understand why when I explain to you the process for doing a contour line drawing. Here's that's the example I've already shown you. Let me show you what you'll need. Paper to draw on, something to draw with. I'm going to be using a Sharpie. Gives a nice bold line and no erasing with this. This is not about creating a perfect drawing, although I kind of like the interesting quirky look that it gives. But it's really a practice. And then I think it's also beautiful to add little pops of color you can see. So you'll use color pencils or crayons to choose some places to add some pops of color. So I'll show you the technique. And I'll talk to you about how artists use this to practice to become better artists. And then there are two artists also that I want to share with you today who do beautiful line drawings. One is the very famous Spanish artist Pablo Picasso that you have probably heard about. He was the artist that was accused of stealing the Mona Lisa. Turned out it wasn't him, but contributed to her fame, the fame of that painting by Leonardo da Vinci. So Pablo Picasso, the famous Spanish artist, and there's a contemporary British artist, an artist working now, Charlie Mackesy, that I want to share with you, who does really beautiful line drawings. All right, y'all, so let's get into it. Let me show you about contour line drawing. Before we jump in, I did want to talk to you about the elements of art, since we're touching on quite a few of those with this, specifically line, a mark made by an art-making material. There you can think of, a dot that goes for a walk, a line. And when a line meets itself, it becomes a shape. So we're going to be working with lines that create a shape. We're also going to be working with color and value with our color pencils, and I'll actually bring that back to show you that, and value, which is the lightness or darkness of a color. So we're working with a lot of the elements of art, line, shape, color, and value. Now here I have my sketchbook and I have my bucket of little plastic animals that I'm going to use for the subject matter of my contour line drawing. You're welcome to use your hand. If you have another object you would like to draw, if you're doing this at home, find a toy or some item that you think is interesting to look at. And since I'm turning to a new page in my sketchbook, those are my previous projects, and because I'm working with Sharpie, which does bleed through the page, an alcohol-based marker that will bleed through that paper, I put a black paper underneath. We'll be using that black paper for a project later on, but I'm just using it to protect the underlying pages so I don't get my Sharpie on the under pages, or if you're not working in a book, you don't want to get it on the table either. Now I have this elk here that I'm looking at, and I'm deciding where I'm going to how I'm going to position it, because look at the different angles. If I have it like that, it looks different, but even a slight turn in that changes the way it looks. So I do need to keep that still, and I pick a spot from where I'm looking at that to start, and my eye is focused on that one spot on the outliner edge of that shape. Looks like I'm starting there on the back leg, and then I'm going very slowly as my eye goes around the perimeter, the outline of the animal. My pen goes on the paper, and I'm just going slowly and looking very closely. I'm not worried about getting an exact drawing of this elk. My main focus is looking really closely at that item, that elk, or your hand, or whatever it is that you're drawing. This is about looking really closely and noticing all the little bumps and all the details of that shape. And this is called contour line drawing, and I'm doing the outline here. There's another type of contour line drawing that's called blind contour line drawing, where the artist doesn't even look at the drawing at all. Like you only look at the thing that you're drawing. And that's so that you really push that focus to what you're drawing, not the drawing itself. Um, you can even do this exercise without even doing the drawing, just slowly studying and noticing an object. Because really what this is about looking closely. Now, we're going to have a drawing to go along with it and a few rules about that. You don't have to do, you don't ha- this is not blind. You don't have to not look at your drawing. There's also a rule about not lifting your pencil or pen off of the paper, that you should have contact with your paper at all times. You don't have to be so strict about that. There's no erasing. Of course, we're using pens, so that's not an option anyway. But also, no judgment. So let that judgment about, oh, it doesn't look good, I'm not doing a perfect job, let that go. This is not about that. This is not about, really not a lot of what we do in art is about creating a perfect picture. We're just learning and practicing. So let that judgment and that criticism go. So don't do that. And then along with that, like don't X anything out. Don't scribble over anything. This is practice, all right? Sometimes we get some really cool pictures out of it, but this is practice. Practice looking. So those are really the rules. Look closely and don't judge. Don't judge your own work. And then, of course, don't be judgmental about the work of others either. Okay, I'm going to go now and fast forward. Now I'm going in fast forward here so that you can see me complete some more. I got some more animals to add to my picture. I want to have a nice composition, the arrangement of all the different lines and shapes on my paper. So I'm going in fast forward so that you don't have to wait for the time it takes me to do that. But I was intentional that I didn't go fast forward on that first one because I want you to know that this drawing process is a slow one, because you just want to go slowly so that you're really noticing all the details. So don't be confused that although I'm going in fast forward here, just for efficiency, that in real life when you're doing this, just like on the elk that I drew, you go very slowly. This is a slow drawing process to really do all that noticing that you can do. So as I do, I'm going to finish up this drawing, and then I'm going to start in and add some color. And so I want to talk to you about, after you get the contour line drawing of a few things done, that you can add some color. Okay, and so I have my color pencils that I'm using, and I'm doing the fade technique that we practiced before with our color pencils, where I'm building up that value gradually and then fading it off to get a smooth transition from a lot of color to very little to no color. And I'm doing overlap. When one item is on top of another, we call that overlap. I'm overlapping a red fade and a blue fade, and where they cross over, I'm getting purple. Because we remember and we can look back at our color wheel, blue and red make purple. So I'm getting that color blend of purple where the blue and red overlap. And here I'm doing a fade with the green. And then I'll go in and I'm going to do some more drawing. If you are going back and forth between drawing and coloring, that's fine. Just be mindful that you don't accidentally remove your protective paper, like the black paper that's protecting my the rest of the pages in my sketchbook. So be mindful about that. Now, the final little color thing I wanted to talk to you about is that as I draw this, and also an element here, or actually it's a principle of art, which has to do with positive and negative space. I have the positive space, that's where things are, like my frog and my grasshopper, and the negative space, where nothing is, the space in between. You see those little spaces in between the grasshoppers, like antennae and the frog? I'm going to not only think about coloring some of the positive space, where the things are, I'm also going to color in those negative spaces that are created. When I have a shape, like there between the beaver and the grasshopper, also are some negative spaces that I'm going to accentuate with some color. And I know now I'm done with the drawing, so I was able to remove that paper. And when I'm thinking about the color scheme, I'm thinking about opposite colors. Orange and blue are opposite on the color wheel. They're going to make each other stand out when they're next to each other. We call that complementary colors. So that's another way we can use our color wheel, not only to know color mixing, but also opposite colors that are going to make each other stand out even more when they're next to each other. Okay, y'all, I did want to show you here a contour line drawing that an artist is doing of their hand, just to give you another example in the event that you're chosen to do a contour line drawing of your hand or another object. It's the same process of slowly following a line with your eye and then doing that same line on your paper. Without judgment, and mostly this exercise is about looking. So I wanted to show you with a different item. Okay, I almost totally forgot to show you the artist I wanted to show you. This is not Picasso, that's just contour line drawing of a hand. Here's a contour line drawing of a face. I love that quirky look in a sketchbook. This is to show you that you can use any item that you're interested in drawing to do a contour line drawing. And finally, here is Pablo Picasso, the famous Spanish artist, some of his line drawings. Also, he would do these drawings with light, and the camera would pick up the light trails and do line drawings with that. Here's some more Picassos. Not exactly contour line drawing. The face in this one is contour line drawing-ish, but beautiful line drawings by the famous artist Pablo Picasso. And so I wanted to show you just that with simple, beautiful lines, he was able to capture the essential elements of the subject matter. An owl here and a flamingo. And then I also wanted to share with you the artist Charlie Mackesy. I hope we'll have time to read some of his book. There are a couple pages from his book, and he has his little doggy there too. Here's his book, which is a beautiful book that, again, I hope I can read to you. And then here's another page from the book, and it says, "The truth is, said the horse, that no matter how it looks, everyone has their struggles," and we know that is true. So right there at the end, wanted to make sure that you got a little reminder about Pablo Picasso, a famous artist from history, and a contemporary artist, Charlie Mackesy. All right, guys, I'm going to do a quick review. I'll just show you my process again, but before that, let me show you Charlie Mackesy's drawing style. His is more gestural, and he posts them on Instagram. So I'll show you that, then I'll just do mine again. You can see it, and then we'll be ready to get to work.